What is your secret sauce when you work with leaders to ensure that they follow up on what they learned from you, especially helping their employees take on responsibilities, ouch, and letting go of the leader's power and influence?
Oh, it's so hard, I find, for most leaders to let go, especially that maybe they started their business and it was a small mom and pop shop, and then they're starting to grow and they open up more locations. It's hard for them to let go of making all those decisions.
Mhm.
So I just like to point out to leaders that if you hired folks for a certain reason, you hired them because you thought they were the best at what they do. Let them be the best at what they do. If everybody has to wait for you to make the decisions, can you just imagine how slow it's going to be to get these decisions made? And somebody told me a great story. He was a plant manager at a company that I was at. And he talked about, like, if your furnace goes on the fritz, you call in a furnace repairman or woman,
Mhm.
repair person comes in. Do you stand over their shoulder and point out all the things that they should be doing to your furnace? Most times you don't. You trust them, right? You want to let them do what they do. Maybe you're there to move the washing machine out of the way so they can get better access to it. But I thought when he told me that story, I said, I absolutely love that one, because it's like, let folks do what they do. You hired them for a reason. Let them make decisions. All their decisions are not going to be the best. But when you think about it, if they learn from it and they don't make that decision again, then you don't have to be there asking and answering all the questions yourself.
No, and it's what I had a service person here a couple days ago, and my husband, he loves being in the room whenever and when he's not working as a lawyer, and he loves it. He just, I think he could have been in some of the industries for the service industry in home improvement, and so the serviceman very nicely, with a big smile, said, "You know, I charge this amount to come out to your house, and I double the fee when people watch over me." And then I just love that. And of course, my husband still didn't leave the room, but I mean, because he didn't hover over him, but he was just very interested. And that's what leaders, we've got to understand. And I love that you said that. Mistakes. Leaders with humility know that they're going to make mistakes, and so are their frontline employees. And I always call these either learning moments, coaching moments. I mean, when I had a client come to me and told me that his boss said, "You're in charge of this next Zoom meeting, and we want you to tell the group exactly of our new initiatives." So my client had his PowerPoint ready and he was all ready to go. Sure enough, Craig, wouldn't you know it, the tech, for whatever reason, the share slide didn't work. So instead of his boss giving him 30 seconds to figure out, "Oh, I know what I have to do," she got on, she took over. Well, it ended up that my client decided, because of many things that this boss did, it was time to leave.
I like to tell leaders too that you have a responsibility to get folks excited about process improvements.
Yes.
So when I try to do that with folks, I try to tie all of these process improvements, which is what lean is about, right? About
Yes.
making something a little better. I try to tie it to things that they do at home. What do we do at home that would make our lives easier? So
Mm-hmm.
I've actually started making a few videos of, like, a changeover for a machine. Like, if you have to take out a die to put in a new piece to make a new part, that's called a changeover. And we try to reduce the amount of time that our machines are in changeover mode. So I thought, well, what can I do to help leaders get their folks excited about this? So I started making short videos of, like, changing my chainsaw from a 20-inch blade down to a 16-inch blade, so it's easier if I'm in the woods trying to cut some trees. I don't have this long 20-inch bar on there. So I started making these changeover videos just to show folks that, you know what, we do changeovers at home. And how can I improve this? So the first time I did the changeover, of course, I had to dig out my chainsaw, try to find the right tools, which were in different cabinets all over the place. Come to find out, the bar that I bought for this new chainsaw was the wrong one. So my changeover did not go very far. So I'm in the process of actually getting the right equipment and making the changeover. And then we can sit and watch that video and say, how could we improve that? How could we make that time a little bit shorter in that changeover? And then that's what we talk about. We try to get folks excited for that. Maybe we take our lawnmower blades. I have some really good ones for the good grass, and then I have field grass that I cut. So I have my old blades that are all nicked up. So I end up doing a changeover on those. If I can get that down to just a few minutes, it's not such a pain anymore to change those over. So we're trying to tell leaders to do some of that stuff and get their folks excited. They have a responsibility, I think, to get their folks excited. And you mentioned something about coaching. Whenever we do some teaching, we always follow it up, or we try to always follow it up, going out on the floor with folks and say, how can you apply this in your everyday?
Perfect.
And I think that was something when you and I talked before that I thought was really, really interesting, because your love of coaching as well. You know, just the telling somebody something or watching a PowerPoint is one thing, but if we shut those books and just go back to work and it's business as usual, then what are we really getting out of it? So that stuck with me when you said that, how you really think the coaching is important, and I totally agree with that.
Thank you, and I agree. Obviously, I agree with it because I said it. What I love about this last story, Craig, you may be surprised at the little piece that I picked up, is that you took that video that maybe didn't turn out as well as you wanted, and you smiled when you told that story, and you took it and let's say, okay, how could we fix this? How could we make this better? And that is a leader with humility, which you have, sir. I don't always have guests who are leaders with humility, and I just have to say that. And the ones that do are the ones that get invited back, because you are the real ones, the authentic ones, the ones that admit that they make mistakes. And what can we learn? And it doesn't mean that you're a perfectionist. Am I speaking your truth or not?
Oh, yes, I definitely have my share of mistakes. There was one that I made actually when I was, and this, I think it's an important story to tell, just because of my leader, because I want to explain how great they were when I did this. I was cooking at the Hilton, the Grand Rapids Hilton, the Spinnaker restaurant. It's a very nice restaurant. I worked there from 16 to 20. So through high school, and I did a co-op class where I got to go to work and get credit for that. And I'll never forget, I was making Thousand Island dressing, a big bucket of it. And we had what's called a buffalo chopper, and you would open up the ingredients, dump them in the buffalo chopper, the pickles and things like that, and it would chop them all up. So I went and got the olives that had to go in there. I dumped the olives in there. I turned it on, and it sounded like ball bearings were in this thing, or BBs or something. But then after a while, it got quiet. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, it's quieting down. So I made this Thousand Island dressing. And in the restaurant, when we get busy, it was like 7 o'clock at night, all the salads start going out to the dining room. And before you know it, all the salads start coming back in the dining room. And I'm thinking, what's wrong? Apparently, I had used olives that had pits in them when I dumped them in there. So, and I will never forget our executive chef, his name is Rain Kansman. He just walked by, he looked at me, and he knew that I felt horrible. You know, I'm 17 years old thinking all these servers are staring at me like, what are you going to do about this? And he just looked at me, he shook his head, and I think he mumbled my last name, but just gave a little bit of a smile. He knows I didn't do that on purpose.
Sure.
He could have yelled, he could have gotten upset. And I forget what we did. I think we strained some things out and made a quick batch to get back up and running again. But I will never forget that. It just sticks in my mind from that many years ago. I just felt safe in an environment there, safe to fail. I could try something, and if it didn't work out, I knew that I was not going to get yelled at. I was just given some respect, I guess.
Yeah, and here we go again. Another great story that you're using now, all these years later.
Right.
And I could definitely relate with that. I did something like that with the pits when I did a tapenade. A tapenade.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize that there were pits. So yeah, but it wasn't at work. So great story.